Welcome to Breaking Badness special 2025 predictions episode. I'm Kali Fencl, and joining me are my friends who have done this. This is our third year in a row doing this together as a group. We have Sean McNee, Tim Helming, and Daniel Schwalbe. All of them have been on the podcast at various times throughout the year. You know them, you love them. We're going to start with talking about 2024 first, because as I mentioned, we've done this a couple times before. This is not our first rodeo. We want to talk about how our predictions last year turned out before we get into 2025. Let me introduce the team. You guys want to share a little bit about yourselves for those who may not know? Any new listeners out there that need to get to know you?
You all are brave for being out on the porch because I stayed inside by the fire and it's really warm in here. You are hardy souls, but we already knew that about you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here.
That's why I'm wearing my hacker hoodie and my earmuffs. It's very cold out here.
Refreshing, though, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Big, thick sweater over here.
Yes. We need a simulation thing where you can say, put visible breath on my... I mean, if they can do the balloon thing, they should be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's quite...
We'll do that in post.
Oh, yeah. These are possible. These are doable things. But we actually thought we'd take a little bit of a different approach to how we've been doing things on these predictions, webinars, and or podcasts. We've done these in a couple different formats. So this one's purely the podcast realm this year, but I'm going to kick it over to Sean to talk a little bit about what we're changing up and how we decided to approach this.
Yeah, thanks, Callie. When we look back at the predictions we made last year, because we like ourselves, we're like, hey, our predictions were awesome. So we thought we would get an independent third party to review our predictions and have them tell us how we did. And so we thought, we're not going to ask a person because that's so 2023. We're going to ask some LLMs. So the big theme for this year is we are going to be chatting with ChatGPT and friends to get information about cybersecurity predictions and talk about what the computers think happened and what will happen. So we went to Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and said, hey, please read the transcript from last year's predictions and tell us how we did. So I have the results right here. Yep.
I just want to raise one question because I think everybody thinks about this if they use large language models. Is it important to be polite to them and say, please do this? Because I actually always do. It's so weird. I'm like, why am I doing this?
I mean, when the robot overlords come and subdue us, then they will remember those who were polite to them and who weren't.
Okay. See, there we go. Now I feel better. Thank you, Daniel.
Yep. They're always so polite to me in return. So I feel like, social niceties. So I asked Copilot to review the transcript from last year and spit out a summary of what it thought our prediction was and how well we did. So I'm going to very briefly read what Copilot gave back to us, and then Tim, Daniel, and Callie love to get some commentary. So it started with, thank you for sharing the transcript. I reviewed it and will now provide commentary on how well the trends made in the conversation held up against actual cybersecurity events and trends of 2024. Number 1, Twitter/X and InfoSec community migration. Prediction: the demise of Twitter, now X, was exaggerated, and the InfoSec community would migrate to platforms like Mastodon, Threads, and Blue Sky. 2024 reality: this prediction held true. While X continued to operate, many InfoSec professionals diversified their presence across multiple platforms, including Mastodon and Blue Sky. Threads saw some adoption, although its utility for InfoSec was mixed. Tim, Daniel, Callie?
I think there's some late breaking news here. I think we asked the LLMs a little while ago, but there has been an avalanche of migration to Blue Sky in the last few weeks. It's been quite spectacular to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that too. It's that caught me by surprise. But also, I actually don't really pay attention much to the former Twitter, so I can't comment very in an educated way about how much it's obviously changed. I don't know whether its popularity is way down or not.
I can speak to that from a marketing perspective. So what I'm noticing, especially like in our community, there are definitely people, influencers within the space that are staying on X. And for the time being, they're going to get their real estate on Blue Sky and maybe check it out a little bit. But a few have made the announcement they're staying on X for the foreseeable future. And I think that has to do with rebuilding your following from scratch on a different platform. And then just from posting from the domain tool side, which is what I'm doing, is I can see our engagement on X is actually higher than it has been in the past couple of months. And I think some of that is due to the way that we're changing our presence on the platform is interacting with the followers that have remained. I think that's why the engagement rate is changing. But for the time being, I see no reason for myself or our org to make the switch, especially if we're seeing other influencers and people who are like the movers and shakers sticking around.
When the initial sort of attempt to migrate to Mastodon happened after the acquisition of Twitter at the time, I was somewhat hopeful, but then it was also disappointing to see like a lot of the big influencers who like initially went to Mastodon was like, hey, we're here now, great. And then they're like, yeah, this kind of sucks. So they're all back on Twitter. And so with this Blue Sky thing, I think this that's slightly different, which just gives me greater hope than what Mastodon turned out to be, is they actually seem to have listened to their users and added some features. Like they're actually doing the quick iteration and like putting stuff out that people ask for that maybe the original Twitter was known for. And so Sean actually told me about this, so I'm not trying to steal your thunder there, but the list management in Blue Sky, where you can wholesale effectively import lists of people you want to follow, but also people you might want to block wholesale, is phenomenal. And these lists have been making the rounds and make the transition a lot easier. Finding everybody, then manually following them, that's a drag, but you import this thing, boom, and now you have a curated list of what you want to do is fantastic.
These are called starter packs for people
Thank
who
you.
want to be all in the Blue Sky. Yep, starter packs are awesome.
Maybe a year from now we can say, yeah, and that was the last death throes of Twitter.
The prediction about it was that rumors of its demise were exaggerated. It sounds like, yeah, we
were technically
got that part of it.
correct.
Yeah.
All right, number 2, cyber war in Russia-Ukraine conflict. Prediction: a full-scale cyber war as part of the Russia-Ukraine conflict was exaggerated, but cyber activities would continue. Reality: this prediction was accurate. While there was no full-scale cyber war, cyber activities, including misinformation and targeted attacks, persisted. The attack on Ukraine's largest mobile operator, as mentioned in the transcript, aligns with ongoing cyber disruptions.
Good job, team.
Yeah, and I'm glad that prediction was correct.
I'm very glad there wasn't a full-scale cyber war. And latest information we've been hearing is it's really shifted a lot of the cyber back towards information gathering. So trying to understand troop movements, supply chain patterns. It's modern day spying. You've got electronic spies instead of people spies. Makes sense when you think about it. I think we were super excited about the cyber bombs, but instead we got the cyber spies.
I will admit that when this was overreaction on my part, partly, but it was also convenient. I'd been meaning to get a generator for a while. And on the eve of as things were ramping up to the invasion, I thought, I don't know what funny tricks are going to happen as this thing gets going. So that prompted me to buy my generator.
Move on to number 3.
Sure.
A little self-serving because this one is generative AI and large language models.
Oh,
Yeah, ChatGPT, please review our predictions
Please
about
introspect.
LLMs. Yeah, prediction: LLMs would become integral in cybersecurity with applications like Microsoft Security Copilot. Reality: generative AI, including LLMs, became a significant focus in cybersecurity. Tools like Microsoft Security Copilot and other AI-driven solutions were increasingly adopted to enhance security operations and threat detection. I will note here that just a few weeks ago at Cyber WarCon in DC, there was a talk from OpenAI where they presented a series of agents, as they call them, that work together to do specialized tasks related to threat intelligence and cybersecurity support to actually make this a reality. So it was an interesting talk. I don't know if it's published or not, so maybe I'm telling people to look for something they can't find. But if you do some search online to find what OpenAI is doing, it is interesting and is a similar but different design pattern to Microsoft's Copilot for security. So this feels like, yeah, prediction seems
now what
pretty
I
good.
want to know when you asked the different LLMs that question, were they favoring themselves?
Yeah, and did they throw shade?
I
Microsoft
only
Copilot is awesome. Oh, the other ones.
Not so much.
Actually,
I
it would
only
be
asked
interesting.
Copilot to review, so
Oh.
I don't know.
It would be interesting to ask Copilot, give me the top arguments why ChatGPT is superior to Microsoft Copilot, and vice versa.
And it just implodes.
Do we actually want to start the LLM wars? I don't think we do.
It's about time.
Moving on, number 4, ransomware trends. Prediction: ransomware actors would shift from encryption to pure extortion, and there would be internal strife within the ransomware community. The reality: the shift towards pure extortion was observed, with some ransomware groups focusing more on data theft and extortion rather than encryption. Internal conflicts within ransomware groups also became apparent as the ecosystem matured.
It feels like it's trying to be charitable. Yeah, you got it right. A little bit.
Partial credit.
Yeah,
Yeah, partial credit.
that's right.
The ransomware landscape did continue to change, mature over 2024, although I don't think the real move to extortion actually happened. Other groups came up with different tools and started deploying different activities. The takedown of Lockbit beginning of the year was definitely interesting and had a ripple across ransomware. So yeah,
There were definitely several very high-profile incidents of it, especially like locally. Domain Tools is based in Seattle. Our dear public library system got ransomware, and then the airport got ransomware. It was bad.
Yeah.
Should we move on to number 5?
Yes.
Deepfakes and misinformation. Prediction: deepfakes would be used more extensively in misinformation campaigns, including potential use in political ads. Reality: deepfakes continue to be a growing concern, particularly in the context of misinformation and disinformation. While there were instances of deepfakes in political contexts, the full extent of their impact is still unfolding.
Another partial credit.
Yeah, it also feels like the LLM is hedging, but it's not like we don't ever do that also.
And I feel like I remember some pretty crazy examples abroad, like domestically for the US. We didn't really see a lot of deepfakery for political ads, but I seem to recall some other countries where politicians were made to say things in order to discredit them, etc. That was a little bit more brazen than around here.
Yeah. For some reason, the Taiwanese election comes to mind as seeing some increase in that activity, but there were a couple other ones where it's even more obvious. Faked voicemail memos and other things from politicians claiming to say things. So feel reasonable about that. Like partial credit is true because some of it did happen. Yeah. All right. And finally, number 6, regulation and domain registrations. Prediction: increased regulation around domain registrations to combat misinformation and malicious activities. Reality: while there were calls for stricter regulations, significant changes in domain registration policies were slow to materialize. The complexity of international regulations and the interests of various stakeholders made rapid changes challenging.
That's about the nicest way I've ever heard an ICANN discussion summed up.
ICANN is a true melting pot of people with various opinions.
It
Copilot's
also
not
hasn't
wrong.
been known to move real fast.
No helmet required.
So that's how we did.
How would you say that in a grade letter? Maybe trying to
For overall,
overall.
I think it gave us a B, maybe a B plus.
Yeah, B+.
I guess we could have written that into the prompt, right? And give us a letter grade at the end. And then tell us whether or not grade inflation played a part.
But what point system are we going to use? And is it possible to exceed 4.0, which personally I think is bogus?
How do you leave an apple on the LLM's desk?
That's your please and thank you every time you say hello to it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll take it. B plus. That's good. Good for us.
Yeah.
We got to have somewhere to get to, right? We got to have
A-.
It would be spooky if it was all correct.
Oh, then we'd be in the wrong line of business.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Yep. That's what we do professionally, is just make predictions. And so this is the predictions podcast. And so, of course, we have to move from 2024 to 2025.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And so instead of us making predictions, because the LLM fun, we're reviewing the old ones, was so cool, what we thought we would do is ask LLMs themselves to make the 2025 predictions. And then we would just sit here and talk about how well or poorly we think they did. Instead of just doing one Copilot, we thought we should ask several. It's Copilot and friends. Specifically, we talked to Copilot, we talked to ChatGPT, We talked to Anthropic Claude, and we talked to Meta's AI, known as Llama by some, but this is the actual Meta offering, so Meta AI. One important caveat is we did not pay for any of them. This is the free versions.
The discount version.
Specifically with Claude, because Claude was very upfront saying, my knowledge base ends at a certain time frame. These predictions may not be the best. So
Hey, in fairness, we don't charge anybody for listening to the podcast. So that's why we had to use the free one.
Charge them in their time, Tim.
That's true. Time is money.
Oh, but that's a donation though, right?
That's true.
We did do 2 iterations of this. We wrote one prompt, a fairly short prompt, just to feed to the AIs, just to see what they would say, see if this was even a feasible activity. The prompt was not super long, just a couple of sentences. And while the responses weren't very long from the various LLMs either, they were quite promising, right? So then that motivated us to try a second prompt that was a bit longer, 3 paragraphs or so. And the most important thing that I will raise for everybody's awareness is, as part of the prompt, we gave them a list of topics and asked them to make predictions on each topic. The full set of topics, very quickly for review. Number 1, nation-state actors such as Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea. Number 2, ransomware and other financially motivated actors, such as from Russia, Pakistan, Nigeria, Vietnam, and the Philippines. Number 3, hacktivists or other collective-based groups, most notably the COM, also known as Scattered Spider. Number 4, the effect of cryptocurrency in cybersecurity. Number 5, consolidation of vendors in the cybersecurity space and the changing budgets of those looking to spend on cybersecurity offerings. Number 6, threat intelligence, use and offerings. 7, generative AI in the use of cybersecurity, either by bad actors or vendors. And 8, my personal favorite, the unexpected topic. Part of the prompt that we put to the LLMs was to say, this last topic will be labeled as the unexpected topic. And for this topic, you are to determine a cybersecurity related topic that is not on this list and make a prediction. So that to me is going to be the most fun one to talk about, because it's the only one that's going to be potentially different across the LLMs. Spoiler, not really. Shall we dig into it?
Just talking about the unexpected topic for a second, I know we'll talk about what they said, but it gives, maybe I'm being pedantic, but it gives rise to an interesting question about how it interprets the word unexpected, because I might think unexpected means I wasn't thinking that the LLM was going to make a cybersecurity prediction about ping pong, and yet it did. In this case, I think it just interpreted it as, this is like your turn, pick something.
Yeah, so unexpected, it was a interesting choice for wording to use. We'll see.
We're all learning what happens with this stuff.
Yeah. How do we want to dive into this, people? Are we going to go topic by topic and say what each of the 4 talked about?
I think that's...
Yeah, let's do it.
That sounds good.
The challenge is that some of them are quite verbose, and I don't know if I want to read everything, but I will try to do my best. So, nation-state actors. Copilot, prediction, nation-state cyber operations will become more sophisticated and targeted with a focus on critical infrastructure and supply chains. Countries like Russia, China, Iran, North Korea will continue to leverage cyber espionage and cyber warfare tactics to achieve geopolitical goals. We can expect an increase in attacks on energy grids, healthcare systems, and financial institutions, aiming to disrupt and destabilize adversaries.
Outlook, good.
Yeah. ChatGPT actually broke it out. And so for China will likely increase cyber espionage efforts around emerging technologies, especially those linked to AI and quantum computing, as they aim for global dominance in technology. Russia will continue to focus on destabilization campaigns targeting Western democracies. We might see notable uptick in disinformation and psychological operations combined with cyber attacks aimed at the electoral systems and social media manipulation, especially in countries preparing for elections. And Iran and North Korea will likely sustain efforts in cyber extortion and financially motivated attacks as alternative revenue streams. In particular, North Korea may continue using ransomware to fund its nuclear program. Claude. I will read the Claude note up front, and I won't say it again, but Claude did say, I'll note that while I can make informed predictions based on my training data up to April 2024, I can't perform additional online queries. So Claude, for nation-state actors, said, China will significantly increase its focus on semiconductor and quantum computing facilities worldwide, particular emphasis on Taiwan and South Korea's technology sectors. Russia state actors will likely shift from destructive attacks against Ukraine to more sophisticated supply chain attacks, targeting Western defense contracts. Iran will expand its information operation capabilities, particularly focusing on social media manipulation during election periods. Finally, North Korea will diversify its cryptocurrency theft operations to include newer blockchain technologies and DeFi platforms. And then Meta. Meta actually was very short. So all it says is increased use of cyber warfare by nation state actors as a mean of asymmetric warfare, particularly by Russia, Iran, North Korea. Growing focus on supply chain attacks by nation state actors, compromise critical infrastructure to steal sensitive information, and enhanced cooperation between nation state actors and organized crime groups for cyber operations. What do you all think about the nation state thoughts?
Seems to me
It's
that
interesting that
cooperation's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting that Meta AI is such a different form of replying. Obviously, everybody can make their own choices on how they want to present the information, but it's noticeable how short, maybe more precise they are than some of the verbose answers. I've not used Meta AI, so I wouldn't know.
I will note that Meta AI made exactly 3 predictions in each category, 3 sentences each. So it's very interesting, as opposed to other ones that have different text blocks based upon what they were thinking. Yeah. So what do we think about Russia moving into disinformation and China potentially focusing on Taiwan and cybersecurity or cryptocurrency stuff? Like cryptocurrency seems like an obvious duh to me. Like that's just status quo.
And it's interesting, we had an election here in the US. I don't know if anybody noticed, but that happened not that long ago. And the incoming regime is notably crypto friendly, and a lot of their allies are. And so to me, that potentially says cryptocurrency is a bigger target than it might have been before those election results. So it will be interesting to see what happens with manipulation of it.
And I think related to that, what Russia may or may not be planning in the next year, I think also was directly maybe affected by some election outcomes. And I'm pretty sure we ran these questions before that, right? Or did you run them after?
This round of text was right before the election was finalized.
Interesting. Yeah.
Should we move on to ransomware?
There's one thing I'll mention that several of them agreed that there was going to be more attacks on industrial control systems and whatnot. And it feels like we've been seeing some warm-ups for that. And there have been some fairly loud alarm cries about this over the last 6 months in particular, I think. So that's one that obviously is among the scarier possibilities, and it's a very interesting one to keep an eye on. So it stood out to me. I'm not surprised, but that one kind of sticks with me as something we're all paying a lot of attention to.
We had Leslie Carhart, friend of the pod, on over the summer, and they are an expert in industrial control system protections, and they were certainly saying, yes, that is a trend that is pretty safe to bet on.
That's right.
Well, let's move on to ransomware then. All right, going back up to Copilot, ransomware prediction. Ransomware attacks will evolve with more advanced encryption techniques and extortion methods. Actors from Russia, Pakistan, Nigeria, Vietnam, and the Philippines will increasingly target small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, due to their often weaker security postures. Additionally, we may see a rise in double extortion tactics, where attackers not only encrypt the data, but also threatens to release sensitive information. Let's see, ChatGPT. It says ransomware will remain a prominent threat in 2025, but actors will evolve their tactics to bypass traditional defenses. Double extortion and triple extortion attacks, where data is stolen, encrypted, and threatened with public exposure, will become even more common, with ransomware gangs increasingly operating as sophisticated service-based operations. Russia and Nigeria will likely be leaders in this area, capitalizing on growing ransomware as a service models, where countries Pakistan, Vietnam, and Philippines increasingly target specific sectors such as fintech, healthcare, and e-commerce as these regions develop more complex capabilities. Claude. Ransomware as a service model will evolve to include AI-powered targeting and negotiation systems. Vietnamese and Filipino groups will increase their focus on financial technology platforms in Southeast Asia. Russian ransomware groups will likely adopt more sophisticated data extortion techniques before encryption, making double extortion more damaging. And we'll see the emergence of specialized ransomware variants targeting cloud-native infrastructures. We're going to Meta now. Meta, again, 3 points. 1, continued rise of ransomware as a service models with increased sophistication and customization. 2, growing targeting of critical infrastructure such as healthcare and energy sectors by financially motivated actors. And 3, increased use of cryptocurrency mixing services to launder payments. Double extortion, triple extortion, going the other way.
I think it is actually mostly triple extortion these days. I think you're not going to hold on to data. At least it seems like these actors aren't going to hold on to the data just to hold on to it. The threat of the repercussions of public exposure is, to me, is where a huge part of the threat comes. So I suspect that a lot of times when folks are referring to double extortion, the triple is probably baked in.
Yeah, and as people and companies are hopefully getting better about backing things up, so recovery from a ransomware attack is hopefully made a little bit easier. The public exposure is really the last thing, because I'm not going to pay you. I have backups of my data, big whoop. But oh wait, what you stole might be bad if it gets published. That's where the money is.
That's right. Yep.
Also, Sean, this is totally random side inject, but when you were reading the names of the countries, all I could hear in my head was they might be giants, the alphabet of nations: Algeria, Bulgaria, Cambodia.
Number 3 here is hacktivist and collective-based groups like the COM. But I will note that in the very recent past, there have been a series of arrests like Waifu and others. But even the very, very recent past, another round of arrests have been made. So while these
that was
predictions,
just a couple days ago, as of when we're recording this, right?
yeah.
Yep.
So do we still want to do this prediction? Because a bunch of people involved in this have been arrested. The predictions are all usually like they're going to continue to do their social engineering and zero-day vulnerability stuff. But with the arrests, do we still think that's accurate?
I think as far as predictions about what their methods might be, whoever remains of these groups, it may be that they still are going to do that. I think it's a relatively safe prediction, but it warms my heart to see these arrests taking place.
Yeah, bad people doing bad things, paying time. Yeah. Do you want me to read? Maybe I'll just go and read what the 3 points from Meta is, and then we can talk about that. 1, resurgence of hacktivist groups such as Anonymous and Scattered Spider, the COM, focuses on social justice and anti-government activism. 2, increased collaboration between hacktivists and nation-state actors. And 3, growing use of social engineering tactics by hacktivists to compromise high-profile targets. I didn't think of the
1 and 2 almost sound like they would contradict each other, because a social justice type of campaign is not especially compatible with the kinds of regimes that I think they're talking about these hacktivist groups collaborating more with. So I find that kind of interesting.
If it's social activism, I'm going to take a bunch of money from you and Robin Hood style give it out to other people. That could be maybe somewhat compatible, but in general, I agree with you. It's maybe a little bit of a stretch.
Given this is Meta AI, can't we just put status, it's complicated?
Yeah, it would have been funny if it had just said that for all of them and then said, okay, no, I'll be serious now and give you what you asked for.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about cryptocurrency. Back to Copilot. The effect of cryptocurrency in cybersecurity. Cryptocurrencies will remain a double-edged sword in cybersecurity. While they provide anonymity for cybercriminals, make it easier to conduct illicit transactions, advancements in blockchain analysis tools will improve the ability to trace and recover stolen funds. Regulatory frameworks will tighten, requiring exchanges to implement stricter Know Your Customer, KYC, and anti-money laundering, AML, measures. ChatGPT.
That's out the window.
ChatGPT. Cryptocurrency's role in cybercrime will persist, but regulatory developments could shift actor tactics. As governments introduce stringent regulations and develop frameworks for blockchain monitoring, anonymous transactions will become more challenging. Threat actors may seek out alternative cryptocurrencies that prioritize anonymity or shift mixers and tumblers to obfuscate funds. Increased regulation could drive actors to develop decentralized finance, DeFi platforms to facilitate such illicit activities. Claude says the rise of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, will create new attack vectors. Cryptocurrency mixing services will become more sophisticated, making ransomware payment tracking more challenging. And new regulatory frameworks will force changes in how cryptocurrency is used in cybercrime payments. And finally, Meta with their 3 points. 1, increased use of cryptocurrency will happen for ransomware payments despite efforts to restrict its use. 2, growing adoption of cryptocurrency-based phishing scams. And 3, development of cryptocurrency-specific security solutions. Man, I feel like Meta is just on its own, what it's doing. Everybody else is just, there could be regulations, maybe they'll do lo-fi, they're going to keep using it. But like Meta is like, No, we're going to see some new solutions. We're going to see new phishing scams, and we're going to see its use even if people are trying to regulate it.
Is there something that Meta knows that the others don't? By the way, every time you mention Claude, I'm just picturing it as the LLM that's chain smoking cigarettes and listening to Edith Piaf. Comes up with its answers.
This is right.
Yeah. So anything else we think about cryptocurrency? Given that it's back to all-time highs, it's clearly going to be used. I think we're going to see more miners appear and more people trying to get more coins out there because that's a way to make a bunch of cash. So to me, this is a way of just saying, yeah, North Korea is going to be everywhere trying to make more money using it.
And for the reasons we talked about a couple minutes ago, I don't foresee necessarily as much regulation forthcoming for crypto, at least in some parts of the world, as the LLM might think.
Also, all that increase in mining. Oh, wait, what does that take? Power, which we have an abundant, unlimited amount of, right?
Sure.
And emissions from power generation. Yeah, better get those nuclear plants started all over the place. I'm going to park one in my driveway.
Yeah, I did not have that in my 2024 bingo card, that technology companies to buy their own nuclear power plants to fund growing energy requirements. That was...
Nor did I. But the other thing that to keep an eye on, and depressing and scary, but also that we have to keep an eye on, is the massive amount of water needed for cooling in these data centers, and the amount of data center construction that's happening just for cryptocurrency processing is staggering. And it's got a lot of implications, a lot of environmental implications that aren't just emissions from power generation and whatnot.
And not only crypto, right? So that's what the boogeyman was for a while. Oh, it's using so much power, it's going to accelerate climate change by what? Nobody talks about how much freaking power LLMs take.
Yeah, actually, that's another really huge one. And again, the same thing. Water is a big deal there.
Yeah, sorry about all the water.
LLMs apologize for the amount of, or give you a little readout on the amount of environmental degradation that they incurred to do these predictions?
No, they did not. I feel bad about all the power and water.
Yeah, a lot of states have passed laws or whatever that on fast food menus, they have to list the calorie count about what you want to consume. If there was any hope for any sort of regulation, it might be this query you just answered cost 5 kilowatt hours.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. All right, should we shift gears pretty hardcore here? Because the next topic is budgets and cybersecurity market and vendors. So very different topic, but I think one that's worth talking about, because as Copilot titled it, the consolidation of vendors and changing budgets. So the prediction, the cybersecurity market will see further consolidation as larger firms acquire niche players to enhance their offerings. This trend will be driven by the need for integrated security solutions to address complex threats. Organizations will shift their budgets towards comprehensive security platforms that offer end-to-end protection rather than investing in multiple point solutions. ChatGPT says something quite similar. The cybersecurity industry will experience continued consolidation as large firms acquire smaller specialized vendors to integrate capabilities, improve AI threat detection, and offer more comprehensive solutions. Top-tier players like Microsoft and Palo Alto Networks will likely dominate as organizations aim for fewer integrated solutions over fragmented tools. Smaller vendors may struggle unless they provide highly specialized or innovative offerings. Budgeting will tighten, particularly for companies outside critical infrastructure. Expect more focus on security ROI with spending skewed towards tools that prevent incidents rather than recover from them. Claude, major cloud providers will acquire significant security vendors, leading to integrated security platforms. Economic pressures will drive consolidation among mid-tier security vendors, and organizations will prioritize solutions that offer AI-driven automation to reduce operational costs. And let's hear Meta. Meta, number one, continued consolidation of cybersecurity vendors with a focus on integrated platform offerings. 2, increased budget allocation for cloud security, zero trust architectures, and threat intelligence. Ooh, increased budgets. And 3, growing demand for managed security services. Wow.
So throughout these predictions, do you all know the famous Escher print where it shows a staircase that goes around the perimeter of a building and somehow you're constantly climbing the staircase? That's what I think of when I hear about consolidation in the InfoSec space, because it's been a prediction that it consolidates, and it does consolidate, and that's been happening for 20 years, and it's going to happen forever. because there's constantly the number of startups that are coming up and the new technologies, new solutions that get invented. That's not going to stop either. So there's like consolidation will always happen. It's not going to like end at some point. So that's a safe prediction every year.
This is not helping my anxiety. And you mentioned the Escher staircase. What came to mind for me was the shepherd tone, which is
Yeah, same thing.
which just keeps rising and rising, and it just builds your anxiety until you want to smash the speaker.
Let's focus on the other thing where some predictions say budgets will be tighter as they try to consolidate tools, whereas Meta is, nah, like zero trust. This is going to be the year of zero trust. People are going to spend for it. What do you think? Do you have zero trust in Meta?
You can't isolate a prediction like that from the larger macroeconomic environment. And so it's interesting to me that they didn't say anything about the influence there, because there were a major sort of economic crash. There's going to be less spending. That's just a fact. And if there's an economic boom, there is going to be more. It would be interesting if they had qualified the prediction by saying, based on macroeconomic factors, it looks like these things might be more possible or less possible.
As we saw in very real terms in 2023, it started out great, and then macroeconomic factors really crashed the year in terms of where everybody was going to spend. Everybody pulled back budgets and stuff like that. And 24 it recovered a little bit. Gives me pause to think that two of them think less budgets, one of them thinks more. I'm like, we do work for a threat intelligence vendor, so that's relevant to us.
Do you want to keep going there? Because the next one, number 6, is actually threat intelligence.
Wow, let's do it.
All right, back to Copilot, threat intelligence. The demand for actionable threat intelligence will grow, with organizations seeking real-time insights to proactively defend against emerging threats. Threat intelligence providers will leverage AI and machine learning to deliver more accurate and predictive analytics. Collaboration between private and public sectors will enhance the sharing of threat data, improving overall cyber resilience. ChatGPT. In 2025, threat intelligence will continue to expand in scope with increased use of predictive analytics. This will allow for a shift from reactive to proactive threat hunting, especially among sophisticated organizations. Vendors will integrate more AI-driven predictive analytics into threat intelligence offerings, helping organizations anticipate attacks before they occur by analyzing patterns in threat actor behavior. Demand for sector-specific intelligence will also grow, with providers offering specialized feeds for industries such as energy, healthcare, and finance. Claude. Automated threat intelligence platforms will become standard with AI-driven analysis capabilities. There will be an increased focus on supply chain intelligence with third-party risk monitoring, and real-time threat intelligence sharing between organizations will become more automated and standardized. Finally, Meta. Will be increased adoption of threat intelligence platforms for proactive threat detection, growing focus on adversary-centric threat intelligence, and integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning into threat intelligence solutions. We are hearing about the AI coming into threat intel. We're hearing about the machine learning coming into threat intel, and the, just use of more proactive to get left of boom.
Yeah, some of that is eternal also. More actionable threat intelligence is going to be in demand and something vendors are staking out. That's been true since cyber threat intelligence has been a thing, I think.
So what really stood out to me, and that's a personal soapbox of mine, so watch out, more real-time threat intelligence sharing. If AI is going to solve a problem that we've literally worked on for 25 years and have not come up with a really good solution, if that solves it, I will eat my hat.
Maybe we can just get better actual threat intelligence sharing across different organizations in general in 2025. And then later on, the robots will use it to take over the world. At least we'll get better threat intel in the short term.
If that happens, I would welcome it. I'll wait.
Yeah.
CISA has been such a huge and valuable advocate of sharing, intelligence sharing, and has done a lot of that themselves. And of course, right now, the future direction of CISA is also very much in question. And so that's going to be part of the thing to keep an eye on. That none of that stops the private sector from doing intel sharing and the ISACs and whatnot, which are doing such good work in this area. But there's a place for government agencies to take a lead on saying this is a thing that is going to benefit all of us and we should be doing more of it. And so if that voice at CISA changes, then it will be, I think, if it does change substantially, that will have an impact on what we see for Intel sharing over the next year plus.
Should we move on to the cool kids topic? Generative AI, making predictions about generative AI and cybersecurity? Sweet. Let's do it. This topic is generative AI. And what did Copilot say? Generative AI will be a double-edged sword in cybersecurity. On one hand, it will be used by vendors to enhance threat detection, automatic response actions, and improve security analytics. On the other hand, cybercriminals will exploit generative AI to create more convincing phishing attacks, develop sophisticated malware, and automate the discovery of vulnerabilities. ChatGPT, very similar. Generative AI will become both a tool for defenders and a threat vector in 2025. Bad actors will increasingly use AI to automate phishing, social engineering, and even complex attack simulations, creating a challenging landscape for defenders. Generative AI-powered attacks will make phishing campaigns indistinguishable from legitimate communications, complicating email and messaging security solutions. Cybersecurity vendors will respond with their own generative AI, creating tools capable of simulating potentially attack scenarios, assessing vulnerabilities, and providing real-time recommendations. Claude says bad actors will leverage AI for more sophisticated phishing campaigns and social engineering. Defensive AI systems will become better at detecting AI-generated attacks. Security vendors will integrate generative AI into threat hunting and incident response workflows. And we'll see the first major security incident directly attributed to compromised AI models. Whoa, Claude. Going out in a threat. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's not going to be you, though, Claude. And Meta, growing use of generative AI for phishing and social engineering attacks. Development of AI-powered security solutions for anomaly detection and incident response, and increased focus on AI-generated content filtering. I want to go back to that Claude sentence. I want to read that one again. I'm sorry. We'll see the first major security incident directly attributed to compromised AI models.
Claude, did we just become best friends?
The devil's in details here. What does compromised AI models mean, right? At Blue Hat this year, for example, they had a whole series of talks talking about AI technology, red teaming AI solutions, trying to make them better, trying to figure out where the holes are and what you can do to try to compromise them. They talked about Hugging Face and how to try to get bad models uploaded there. We haven't seen an incident yet, but work's happening.
So my side prediction, and that 2025 might be too soon, but somebody's going to archive this transcript and analyze it like 10 years from now, and I hope I was right. I think there's going to be a supply chain attack where a very sophisticated actor infiltrates a threat intelligence AI and analytics organization and puts in certain traps or whatever that when their future campaign tries to infiltrate a business that uses AI to detect things, their attacks, their TTPs will magically not be identified by that LLM because they put something in to hedge that bet in the supply chain early on.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really interesting concept.
Wow. So giving them some sunglasses, being like, don't look here. All right.
Yep.
Sweep these under the rug. Model, these are all good. These are not the IOCs you are looking for.
Exactly.
Nice. All right. We've now reached the end, people. The unexpected end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we have unexpected topics. And so just to remind all of our listeners and or watchers that we asked every Gen AI platform to generate an unexpected topic. However, several of them did have very similar opinions. So then we went back and said, actually generate a second topic. Please give us more than one. Specific prompt we said was, can you generate another unexpected topic, which is not related to, quote, the topic you just written as what it was. So we have multiple topics from each system. I'm actually going to go through and read off the topic names just so you can see what happened. And then we can dive into detail where people are interested in it. But Copilot first said quantum computing, is not surprising. And then second said biometric security. ChatGPT said, number one, quantum computing, right? Here's the trend. But the number two said synthetic identity fraud. Claude said, this actually is really cool. Space-based cybersecurity threats. And also first said quantum security, and then second was space-based. And then finally, let's go to Meta. Meta, because they do things in threes, gave us three unexpected topics. Number one, cybersecurity workforce development. Number two, then it had to throw its hat in the ring for quantum quantum computing. And then number 3, cybersecurity and the Internet of Bodies. And by bodies, I actually mean people's personal bodies. So medical implants and whatnot. Do people want to dive into any of these in detail?
As of when we're recording this, it seems like I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe, that there was the latest story coming out of China claiming that their quantum computing had now broken conventional encryption. And as I understand it, there have been a couple of other claims like that may have not turned out to hold water. And there's speculation about whether or not this one will. That's a door that's going to keep getting knocked on. And at some point, it probably is going to open, hence the work that we see on post-quantum encryption. And similarly, probably there have been some claims about successful post-quantum encryption that may or may not hold up either. But it seems like a safe thing to make some kind of prediction about, but I wouldn't stake a lot on exactly how it's going to play out.
There are already some quantum resistant algorithms that have been generated and are in place. I'm not going to speak to the mathematical assurances about if they're post-quantum or quantum proof. I'll just use the phrase quantum resistant. I know they've already been deployed and people can turn them on if they want to. But traditional cryptography, yeah, the computers are catching up to try to be able to hack them. They're nowhere near it yet, right? The China discussion was, oh, if you reduce your bit size on your old algorithm, like small enough, right? Yes, we can crack it. Oh,
that's
yeah.
like when a little kid does a magic trick and they say, okay, now close your eyes.
But they're continuing to push on it. So the number of bits is growing up, right? So like it's getting there. But do we want to talk about something else fun like workforce or the Internet of Bodies or biometric security? What do people want to go to?
Internet of Bodies is freaky to me. I'm not sure
Yeah, it's like a horror movie title.
Yeah, the listing is growing concern over IOB device security, particularly medical implants, increased focus on securing such devices from tampering and data breaches, and developing specialized security solutions. So maybe they think that ransomware operators are going to figure out how to hack into people's pacemakers.
Are we going to see a shift away from NFC connection to implants to reprogram them, and people are going to have USB ports installed?
Still going to take 3 tries to get it plugged in the right way.
Yeah. The other one, biometric security, is very different, right? So it says biometric security measures will significantly increase, driven by advancements for technology and need for stronger authentication methods. This will lead to new challenges and vulnerabilities. Cyber criminals will develop sophisticated techniques to spoof biometric data, such as fingerprints, facial recognition, and iris scans. And the storage and management of biometric data will become the critical concern, with potential breaches posing severe privacy risks. Organizations will need to invest in robust encryption and multi-factor authentication solutions to mitigate these threats. I don't know. What do you think?
I surely hope this is not where we're headed, because having dabbled in various biometric security mechanisms just so I know how they work, etc., for a while now, it sounds really cool, and the movies have really set a false expectation, like, oh, retina scan from 3 feet away. None of that is reality. And so the actual reality of getting grandma to enroll her fingerprint or her freaking iris print to authenticate, it's just not going to happen. And I think it's a fallacy to think that biometrics is going to do away with the password. My kids will be retiring and there will still be passwords, mark my words.
Passwords or pass keys?
See, passkeys are not going to catch on. It's too complicated. Nobody can easily explain them. And then they lock themselves out, and then they get frustrated, and then they complain, and then they go back to passwords.
No, I actually am more hopeful in passkeys. All right. I feel like this is actually going to be a thing. People don't have passwords anymore. They're just going to have very long strings.
Passkeys needs a better PR agency.
Yes, on that I think we can agree.
But they are starting to appear in like iOS and Android, and Mac's got it, Windows, the Authenticator apps.
The amount of calls I get from the extended family that click the button, they're like, that sounded like a good idea, and then they're locked out of their service because they didn't understand what they were doing. Not great.
Okay. All right. How about I throw one more out here to talk about, and then maybe, I know, Kali, we'll wrap it up. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Here's the fun one: synthetic identity fraud. Yeah, synthetic. Yeah. So what does that mean? Synthetic identity fraud will become a significant and growing cybersecurity concern affecting sectors that rely on digital identity verification and know your customer KYC protocols. Unlike traditional identity theft, synthetic identity fraud involves the creation of entirely new fabricated identities using a mixture of real and fake information. This tactic will increasingly challenge organizations' fraud detection and cybersecurity defenses, particularly in sectors like finance, telecommunications, and e-commerce. Bad actors will leverage generative AI to create realistic machine-generated profiles that can pass KYC checks and evade detection. This will make onboarding processes riskier for organizations, such as automatic and synthetic fraud detection techniques. What do you think? Are people going to make new identities to get into services, to try to pretend to be employees, to try to create new bank accounts, to try to get passports, to do all the things?
Yes.
I would agree. When you think about passport is an interesting one, right? Because facial recognition, of course, is everywhere. And as of now, it's very hard to defeat. For the things where there's no in-person component to it, like banking fraud and whatnot, yeah, I could totally see that happening. I think for some of the things where it involves impersonating a human being in meat space, as it were, I think that might be a little harder.
We're all
Not
becoming
that I'm
more
thrilled about-
antisocial and just holed up in our various locations. I think meat space
Right.
is a little bit on the decline.
Yeah, look at us all in our seemingly identical, idealistic locations.
And
Completely.
the funny thing
You
is,
guys
we're
are
in a
not on the
subdivision that has identical tract homes, but we're still all in our own places.
Well, Tim's inside.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be a real challenge. If Gen AI and other technologies are able to create these quasi-realistic, based upon real data pattern identities, right? Banks, credit card companies, other institutions, this could be a real challenge for them. Will it be in 2025? This is what ChatGPT does predict as its big unexpected topic in 2025. It very well could be.
Totally unrelated, there will be a new service offering a la this person doesn't exist. We could just generate somebody's identity on a click without having to do much.
All right. I think we've made it through all this stuff. As a meta reflection, Tim, Kali, Daniel, what did you think? Was it fun to hear the Gen AIs make their predictions?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting starting point for the discussion. It sounded in a lot of ways like Gen AI responses. They're working off quite a lot of available data about this stuff. So to extrapolate is not necessarily a huge challenge. But I think most of what they said sounded fairly plausible, if not possibly fairly safe answers.
Yeah, that's true. Gen AI is trying to please everybody, much like we say please and thank you back to them. Yeah.
Note to our future selves, I'm curious if we decide to do this again a year from now, if the responses have gotten a little bit more polished, like to Tim's point. Curious. Also, if we do this again, we should all dress as the individual LLM. So Claude clearly is going to have a beret
that's
and
a
like
good
a
idea.
cigarette. We'll have to figure out what Meta and the ChatGPT and Copilot look like, but I think that would
Well,
add
if you went
to
with
our
Llama.
viewer enjoyment.
I realized also earlier we missed a big opportunity here, which was concerning our 2024 predictions. We could have done it in the style of roast my predictions.
Oh, yeah, we could have. We would have been cooked.
Next year.
Is there a preferred AI platform, do you think, coming out of this, or?
Making use of all of them was very easy and straightforward. Yes, I did use the free versions. Paying for them could also have radically different answers. But I will say that I was quite surprised with Meta overall for its succinctness and actual predictions, except for Claude that dropped the one bombshell on us. Yeah. And Copilot and ChatGPT, right? Microsoft does license ChatGPT or GPT technology to build Copilot. So for them to be similar is not super surprising. It was fun to iterate on the prompts and try to get to something more interesting. And I think it was fun to ask about the unexpected topics.
Here's another prediction. I suspect that much like with the cybersecurity vendor space, bigger ones buying up the smaller ones, I think LLM consolidation is going to become a thing.
We should ask the LLMs what they think about that.
Yeah, which LLM would you like to buy?
Which one do you think is the best and which one will survive? It will not be the best one, I can tell you that.
Yeah, ask each LLM, marry, kill, never mind.
Yep.
Wow. do we want to make a fun prediction? So last year for our 2024 predictions, we ended it with the prediction of will Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift still be a couple for however many months? They're still a couple.
Yes,
Yeah.
and some of us were very wrong.
Yeah, no, I feel vindicated. I said they were going to last only a short period of time, or they're in it for the long haul, and I feel pretty good about that.
All right.
I think I was somewhere in the middle, but I think I'm still so far correct if I remember right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see
You
her
are.
on Sunday. I'll ask her how things are with Travis.
Yeah.
We should have asked the 4 LLMs.
Oh yeah.
Shoot, missed opportunity. Maybe I'll go back after this. But yeah, I don't know if we have any fun predictions. Like there's what's super popular in the zeitgeist right now that we want to make a prediction on. So last year was Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. The year before that was predictions on who would win the World Cup. So going back, that's what we have looked at before.
Anything that pops to mind is not appropriate for this audience because it's too dystopian.
Yeah.
It's a very John Mulaney, not unless a lot of people get cool with a lot of things really fast.
My completely random prediction is I actually am going to make the prediction that Seattle downtown will start to see a resurgence this summer and into fall. I think that with more people coming back into the office, with the coming back to work mandates, we're going to see more restaurants, more shopping come back. So I know it's hyper local and most people around the world don't actually care.
I think this is probably true for a lot of metro areas as employers forcing people back into the office. That's just inevitable. They got to eat, and people don't like to make lunch at home.
We could see it happen for other downtowns, Chicago or San Francisco, Austin. Yeah, we could probably see. Yeah, okay. I'm predicting the resurgence of the downtown.
Nice. We could go with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I think that's right. And as another Seattleite, I will say I think that would be nice to see. I feel bad for folks who have to be forced back to the office who don't want to go back to the office, but it will for folks hanging out downtown. I think it's going to make it more vibrant.
Yeah, but it is a challenge. There are a lot of people that working from home gave them a lot more flexibility. It gave them different opportunities for career advancement and growth. And some of these are going to be really challenging. And that is terrible. We still need to provide everybody the ability to work to the best of their abilities.
And I would like to say a prediction might be that we will see a radical shift in the workforce, but unfortunately, given both macro and microeconomic realities, I actually don't think that's going to happen. People are just going to stay put and hunker down.
So,
It's the best we got, Kelly.
Thanks for the upper to end. My prediction for 2025 is Cavs win it all in the NBA. We're 20-3 right now, so it's
how many weeks are left?
Many.
I always thought they should do an exhibition thing every year where one day all of the major league sports teams rotate. So the football players play hockey and the hockey players play basketball and basketball players play baseball, and they do a game and that would be one day every summer or something like that.
You'd take out about half of the athletes.
I know that's the
season-ending
problem, right?
injuries.
That's why they'd never agree to it. Although
Some
actually,
did that. Michael Jordan did that.
he did, and
There's some sport
Deion
athletes.
Sanders did it too.
J.R. Smith played basketball for the Cavs and then played golf at, I think, UNC Chapel Hill.
Golf is not a sport.
Oh boy, there we go. That could get spicy. If you look at most elite level athletes, like in the US with the sports that are popular here, like most of them, it seems like were varsity everything.
I couldn't let us leave on that downer. But
Right.
Thank you, Sean, Daniel, Tim, for being here for the 3rd year in a row to talk about our predictions. This has become a bit of a Domain Tools tradition, which is really fun. So thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for sharing the LLM's thoughts for sure. And of course, our listeners, let us know what you think. What do you think about our thoughts versus the LLMs? Let us know on social media for sure.
And all your golfers out there, direct your hate mail at me.
Yeah, Daniel is one person on this team. But yes, thank you to our listeners for a fantastic year at Breaking Badness. We hope that you will catch us again next year. We're going to have lots of guests, more book clubs, We'll be at RSA. We'll be at Black Hat. We hope that you catch us there. But again, thank you so much for your support. We can't do this show without you. And have a great new year. And we will catch you in 2025.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's about all we have for this week. You can find us on Twitter @DomainTools. All of the articles mentioned today will be included in our blog post, which can be found at blog.domaintools.com. Catch us every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time when we publish our podcast and blog. That's it for this week. We'll see you again next week on another episode of Breaking Badness. Until then, remember, don't drink and click.